Mark Ansel. I'm an assistant professor of microbiology and immunology at UCSF. I've been here for going on 3 years now, and years ago I was a biomedical sciences program graduate student, and I finished here in 2001, and I've been back since 2008. When I was just a little kid in a small community, basically a farming community in Pennsylvania, I had a lot of great support from my parents in the beginning that were really interested in learning and really got me hooked on it and used to give me things to do because I thought they were fun when I was really small. And so from very young I was really into school. As I went through elementary school and high school, it became clear that I was going to go to college, but I was the first one from my family to do that. And I got really good support from teachers and from my parents to go to school, and I think that was in part because at the time it was considered the best thing to do to go out and get the best job and make more money. But for me it was just because I loved school so much. I loved learning things. And so I went to school at Virginia Tech, which is a public university in Southwest Virginia, to be an engineer, which was a great career move. But it was interesting to me, and after a while at Virginia Tech I realized that I wasn't so excited about engineering. And I started to get interested in biology, and I took a course with a mentor there named Dennis Dean. I decided right at the end of college, I waited to the last minute, I missed some of the deadlines for schools, and at the last minute I decided I would apply to graduate school. And I came to UCSF, and I knew right away that I wanted to be here and I wanted to be a part of this. I have to say that it got harder the longer I went in school. I used to always joke that I would just stay in school until they gave me a job. And I did. But not everyone was so sure that was going to happen. And I think, even though nobody ever sat me down and said, you know, at some point you have to stop and get a real job, there was kind of a sense that the further I went with it, the more I was on my own, and the more I had to convince people that the decisions I was making were really smart and good for myself and good for my family. I had overall a very good experience in college and also in grad school. But in the beginning, at least at both places, it was a little tricky because I just didn't know the language, I didn't know what was expected of me. And there was no one that I could just call, like, you know, my parents or a cousin even or something like that, and say, well, what did you do when you went through this? I had to find someone that I could trust that was here already, and I was brand new, just meeting everybody. So that was kind of a struggle at times. It was maybe would have been less of a struggle if I'd have had some kind of network of people that I already knew. I hope that the first-gen programs here will give people an easy idea of who they can go and talk to, either people in the faculty or other peers that they know are going through the same thing. But I think it's also important to reach out to people who've been there and done that a bit more. So I think it's something that everybody goes through at UCSF when they get here. And I've talked to a lot of people about this over the years. It's not just first-gen students, but everybody, I think, at some point goes through this realization that everybody here, almost everybody here, is very good. And you get this sort of, we call it mediocrity syndrome. And it can be hard for a while to no longer be the big fish in the little pond. I think for a lot of us, we grew up being, you know, smartest in our class or one of the smartest, or we worked the hardest and got here, and we were used to being successful at everything, and all of a sudden, in a very competitive place, we're kind of in the middle of the pack. And I think if I could provide some advice to people, the best thing to do is accept that and embrace it and be happy about it. And the greatest thing about it is that all these people around you make you that much better and make your work better. And it's not a bad thing to have that kind of competition around you. And you don't always have to come out at the top of the heap. That's really not the point anyway. And I think that it takes a little while to get used to that, especially if you come from high school and college expecting that you're trying to get near the top of your class to get to that next step. I think when you get here, it's all about using the powers that you've amassed to the best of your ability. You're still getting training maybe, but it's no longer about fighting your way to the top. So I would just suggest to people that they not worry about being the best, but just be happy that they're in the best place.